5,
4,
3.
Oh no.
We failed at counting backwards. I think 1 and we'll just go. Yay.
Okay, way.
We'll just let that slide. Amazing. Hello and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a podcast where we talk about Dungeons and Dragons and how we might include it in our role-playing campaigns.
Yes.
Hey, I did it.
You did it.
Now
You
improvise.
did it. Now improvise.
You only said no. That's a stage direction.
That's stage direction.
That's fine. I'm Ron Burgundy. Question mark?
What?
That's what he does on the show, right?
Oh, he does. Yes, he
Yes,
does.
he says I'm Ron Burgundy.
That's a question mark.
Question? Yes. How are you, Fiona?
I'm doing very well, Hamilton. How are you?
I'm good. How is your dungeons and how are your dragons?
Well, my dungeons are dark and gloomy. If by dungeons you mean going to Kingston today, which is a very exciting place, obviously at the time of recording it is currently flooded.
Is it?
Oh, it's pretty
bugger.
bad. It's pretty bad. It's also in the middle of nowhere, I've discovered. I went to Putney Bridge today as well. That was very
It's
nice.
a very pretty bridge.
It's a very pretty bridge.
I have actually it was Barnes Bridge, but I have an anecdote. Can I give you an anecdote?
You can give me an
Can
anecdote.
I
Go
offer
for
an
it.
anecdote to everyone?
I will gladly receive it.
I used to be a rower, but the coxswain, the person who I did like single sculls, and then when I was at school, I used to do like the first team because I wasn't 6 foot, I'm 5'10", which is not enough to be a great rower. So you could do singles anyway. So I used to be the person that steered the bridge, and we were getting a lesson from Matthew Pinson, who's actually a gold medal rower, right? He's a proper rower. And we'd got this, our school had organised this and got us like an opportunity. So like, it's really important, in front of a gold medal rowing, famous person.
No.
And he's in one boat and my coach is on the other side of me. Right, and they're both shouting at me individually with loudspeakers as I'm rowing this boat, and we're coming to a bridge, and one is shouting at me, "Go left, go left." The other one's shouting at me, "Go right, go right." And I just went, I have no idea what I'm gonna do, so I just had to say, "Stop the boat," because I was about to hit, because they were barging me in, so I couldn't go right because the other one's
either way.
I couldn't go either way, and this bridge was coming at me, the pylon. And I had to literally stop this boat, and I felt I literally have never been so red in my whole life in front of,
that is like an anxiety dream. Like
It was-
the ocean boats shouting at you from megaphones.
I think I have woken up in sweats about it since. I mean, this was, oh bloody hell, we're talking 16 years ago, and it's still there with me, to be honest. But there you go.
Gosh. Anyway, away from these anxiety boat dreams that we've been having.
This is proper D&D chat.
This is proper D&D chat. Well, let's go into it. I guess, I'll tell you what we're talking about today, shall I? Sorry, because I picked this topic. I was like, huh? Yes, so, Hamilton, I'm sure you are aware. We've had recently, over the last couple of weeks or so, we've had the D&D Celebration. So, the general, obviously, we've had the Wild Beyond the Witchlight release, but also we've had, over that weekend, we had, obviously, different games, some panels, and then finally, apparently, the most anticipated panel of the weekend, the Future of D&D. So, we are going to spend some time to unpack what we learnt, even though it is a couple of weeks later by the time you see this, but I'm sure you can go back and watch that panel in your own time. It's a very interesting panel with four of the main D&D players that have been working on several of the projects over the last couple of years.
Even someone who was called Head of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Which I didn't. I was like, I'd love that title, please. When they want to move on to better things, even I'd have to work for them. If I could just have the title, that'd be cool.
I like the idea that you are like Chamberlain or something. You have to go up through the ranks of like captain and lieutenant, and then finally head
Head of D&D. Such great. Anyway, I was very jealous of their roles, but yes, and it was also Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins and
two other people. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look this up now. It's very embarrassing.
Liz Schuh.
Yeah, Liz Schuh.
and Ellie Osili-Wood, who did the hosting, who's the BBC
Yes.
presenter. I recognise her from.
Yeah, she's. I didn't realise that she is a massive Magic the Gathering player,
Oh, right.
and is obviously a video game person as well. So she's been on like outside Xbox and I think Dicebreaker and stuff like that. So and has quite rapidly shot up the ranks to be the UK representative to sort of do stuff all stuff nerdy, which is fantastic for her.
She does the
So,
BAFTA
really
Game Awards as well. That's how I remembered her from that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Ray Winning, who is the head of Dungeons and Dragons.
Ah, yes, the head. Yes, that was right too. So, I guess diving in, so I guess because they what's interesting about this panel, as a lot of the comments on the YouTube video said, was like, oh yes, teasing about stuff they can't really announce.
Yes.
Which I
hate those. It's like when people come onto like Parkinson and stuff. Okay, again, for the American listeners, like onto a talk show like Tonight Show,
like Jonathan Ross or
Jonathan Ross, the Tonight with Jay Leno, and they're like a Marvel event. They're in a Marvel movie, and they go, "I'm doing a Marvel movie. Can you tell us about it?" Nope. So why are you here? Like, what are you doing here, guys? Because we just want juicy gossip. They gave us something juicy. They gave us some little snippets, but yeah.
I guess it's interesting because obviously they didn't, as with all things now, and I guess maybe it's just the way we consume information and media. Like we like a couple of years ago, we would have like maybe caught up with like a season finale maybe a couple of weeks later and not be worried about being spoiled. Whereas now, if you go onto Twitter, like anytime I go onto Twitter, maybe a couple of days after Critical Role has been announced, there's always fan art, there's always threads and stuff of like spoilers, and I'm like, oh, I'm several episodes behind. It's too late now. I'll see whatever it is, and usually by the time I get around to it, I've completely forgotten about it. But so I just found it interesting. They were all sort of like, we have stuff to announce, but we don't want to spoil anything, and I'm just like, yeah, but this is over the next 3 years, though.
Yeah, I'm going to forget by the time it's 2024 what you said. And
exactly.
It does. And also, I know I get the reasons for it, but also you do kind of think, like, I think you could, it's trying to manage that hype expectation, but you think 2022 is coming pretty soon. I think you could manage a hype for something really big like that for a year, potentially, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting about that? So they sort of said stuff is obviously in motion, and let's talk about the 2022 stuff. So what they've said, the big thing about 2022 is that 2 major classic settings are being looked at, re-released. But the caveat, which I thought was interesting, we were talking about this off camera, they will be published in new formats, completely brand new to D&D, and so it's unlikely it's going to be a book, or it will be. I think it will be a book, some sort of copy or physical copy. Probably will be on D&D Beyond, but it's like, what other formats will there be?
The others that I know of that they have done before is an audiobook version.
Yes.
They did the Player's Guide to the Outlands. This is a 2e Planescape one. And it was done as a... so the book was written, and like all other Planescapes, it's done very much in someone explaining to you the rules. So it's very meta, and it's very much explained like you have in a lot of them. It's a guide. It literally is... if you ever played the Planescape Torment, it's the skull in that. So it's a floating skull.
Okay.
And he talks to you through like all the different like locations in the Outlands, and you can get a CD. If you buy it on DM's Guild, you actually get the MP3s, and you can just listen to it, and it's very...
How fun.
It's a nice little... It's just a way of accessing a sort of guide, in a very sort of talky format. So maybe it's something like that.
I mean, I would like that, because I know last year or the year before, there was like and this is where I'm going to get the hashtag wrong, but it was basically lots of DMs reading from a book and reading a chapter aloud for something.
Oh, right.
I don't know if it was for charity, but like Chris Perkins did it, like just reading something. And again, something. But actually, I was thinking about it to myself, and like, I listen, I absorb content. I consume content, not absorb it. Mostly through audio now. Like I listen to podcasts on the commute and stuff like that. So I actually wouldn't mind like a podcast version or an audiobook version of maybe the main books, perhaps. Like obviously like rules, or even like the adventure stuff would be interesting. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me because then you can always skip to those chapters and be like, oh, I need to know what the grappling rules are again. I'm just going to listen to somebody else explain it rather than read it again in a book.
But I totally agree, and I think if it was like, if you had it an app, and like on the D&D Beyond, you have all the chapters, and you can see the sort of index and the contents page. we're doing this DM's book club, and we're reading like a campaign setting for a couple of weeks. It's 250 pages long. I would have loved to just been able to listen to someone read that to me, because then you could just take in all of that information and then go back and focus on what you need. I do think it says the other thing that they said on there, new things in the digital arena to be announced in 2022, which makes me think it's more digital media. They did also do the audiobook with Benedict Cumberbatch reading Drizzt.
Oh, Drizzt. Yeah, that's coming out. Is that out? Or is that coming out?
It's out. It's on podcast locations, I think. Yeah.
Well, go read that. Or go listen to that even. Yes. Oh, yeah, because they had the animation up over that weekend as well, which is great animation. And I you know what? I didn't realise it was Benedict Cumberbatch till right at the end when he goes, narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, oh, yes. Now that makes sense. Like this very dark, gruffly voice. It's like, oh, darkness. Oh, I am Drizzt. And you're like, ooh, don't know who it is.
Well, he does smile pretty well, doesn't he? So
he does,
I guess he's got range. He's got range.
Yeah. But I guess, the thing I was going to say then, I mentioned it to you off camera, is that I have a sneaking suspicion, because obviously we've got stuff like Roll20, Tabletop Simulator, stuff like that. I think with the D&D Beyond, with the app, and obviously with the overlays and stuff which you can plug in, and then as soon as you do something it changes on the overlay, I feel that they're just going to have a whole Wizards of the Coast official.
It seems strange they don't. It literally seems. I mean, the fact that they didn't is the reason why D&D Beyond came along and said, well, someone's got to make it and make some money out of it. But if you've been to the Wizards of the Coast website, come on, guys, it's not 1997 anymore. Okay, that color scheme. Come on, whoa, it doesn't bang. It just, it's, you, I mean, and I don't, I just feel like they've got some good graphical designers out there, so get them working on your website, please.
Get some, well, no, I think you're right. It's about getting, updating it. I assume they'll might be updated for the 50th anniversary, which I'm sure we'll get onto. But I do think it's interesting, this idea of publishing things in new formats we've not explored before. So that's instantly says to me that these might be exclusive stuff to a tabletop official version that they've made, because they are campaign settings as well, let's go on to that. So obviously you did a bit of crowdsourcing.
I did.
Very exciting. So you asked the great world.
I asked the nation. The multiple nations that we have access to with this modern era. So I just put out a little thing on the Dragonsteel Twitter, and I'm going to try and do more of these. So if you're out there, just you can find us at Dragonsteel, one word. I'll also always tag in at the DM's Book Club, so you can always find them both there. But I just I asked what is the old school campaign setting that people are hoping that comes back from the Wizard D&D books next year. I obviously balanced the scales by saying I want it to be Planescape. I also gave only 4, because you can only do 4 on Twitter, which was Planescape, Spelljammer, Dragonlance and Dark Sun, because I think they're the ones I hear the most about. And Planescape 1, clearly, because it's the best. So,
boo.
And that was 42 people voted on it, but I think it's it's a good solid majority. But there was equally the same out for Spelljammer and Dark Sun. But what was interesting is people's thoughts, and just listening to people's thinking. It is the Spelljammer and the Planescape seem to be the ones that everyone believes is coming next. I think people have a lot of affection for Planescape. We talked about that in a previous show, and I think, but then Spelljammer, there was one person who says, Spelljammer is definitely a thing. They've been doing loads of hinting, and I was like, okay, so what hints? What hints are these? And they said, well, there's in Rime of the Frost Maiden, the Rime of the Frost Maiden features a crashed Nautiloid, which is the big
the big Mind Flayer ship. The thing I absolutely hate.
These are all spoilers, by the way, from now on. Dungeon of the Mad Mage has a Spelljammer itself in it. And the TCOE, I don't know what that is. TCOE, the Curse of E. I don't know what that is. I can't remember what that is. There's a Far Realm incursion depicting multiple Nautiloids, and Volo's Guide and Tome of Foes features Spelljammer creatures like a Neogi and a Gith. And Baldur's Gate 3 also.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything?
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Phew, I was just staring at my books going,
what is that? Yeah, exactly. A Far Realm incursion depicting molten alloys is in that, as well as Baldur's Gate 3, famously. And then on the D&D panel show, right at the end, they showed Boo.
Boo, yes. So do you want to describe who Boo is to those who might not know who he is? Like, I had to go look it up because I'm one of those people.
Well, actually, I don't know that much about Spelljammer. I'm more at the time this was out. Planescape was my jam, and some people were not Spelljammer. Anyway, there's something weird in there. But Boo is a giant miniature space hamster who supposedly is exactly the same as any normal hamster. And famously, if you'd played the Baldur's Gate games, the old-fashioned ones, he was in that as Minsk's, who's a character
companion.
Companion. Yeah, and that was part of the Spelljammer lore, the original Spelljammer. So, I think that it sounds pretty much like
it sounds confirmed, doesn't it? Yeah, like, and it's been very interesting. Whenever I watch panels about D&D, and they always like, oh, what's coming up next, and it will be, this is a new adventure. The amount of comments I know saying, where is Spelljammer? I just find that really interesting. Like, I guess I get the idea of like having high fantasy space, and I wonder at the time, again, maybe at some point we could look back at previous editions, because I've never really looked at it. The only thing we've looked at, I think, briefly is the GIF, those space hippos, which are hilarious. But again, for me, it's just the way that I think that people talk about it, is that's that idea of nostalgia. We're like, we want these things, and I'm like, I get it, but I like new things because it's just I want to see what else we can do.
100%.
But it's just, I guess it's just the way people go about these things.
I think the thing is, and there are people out there doing actual plays in this environment. I know 2 off the top of my head, at Carney Sideshow and the Fourth Culture, both exist in Planescape settings, which is in the DM's guide, but it's literally you get 5 seconds of text. I think all it is it feels like, I think Planescape for me is just like, well, it's in the lore, just chuck it in. Like, it doesn't take a lot, just chuck all that stuff in, and you can go find it. And maybe when they talk about other media coming in, maybe they might be able to bring in, just allow people to have access to old campaign guides. That's one of the things I'd love them to add to their list of, like, on D&D Beyond, or if they do their own version, play some 3.5e or maybe play some 2e. I don't know, let's go crazy. But even just having access to those documents there.
Yeah, that'd be quite good, yeah.
But the thing with so what I was saying with Planescape, though, is that I think it's just like, it's a great lore, and Spelljammer, I think, as well, is such a fun idea. It's just, it's the closest you get to space. Yes. And everyone wants a bit of space. And I think, and I mean, you could just go play Starfinder, but I think people already know D&D, so just add it to my list, I think, is where it is.
I think because it's the way it involves, obviously, all the other races and stuff, and I get that. And like Dark Sun as well, and Dragonlance as well. I think, obviously, Dragonlance I know vaguely from the books and stuff, because obviously they are having Fizzband coming out soon, which is obviously a character from the Dragonlance series. Although I've heard little rumours that it's like a mention of Dragonlance, but it's mostly about the dragons in the book, so not too much on that. But so maybe there will be a full setting, maybe it's a setup to that. But Dark Sun sounds very fun. This idea of a Mad Max apocalyptic things where, was it halflings are cannibals? That's as far as I got, and I was like, this sounds interesting. So it's like 2 ends of the scale, I guess. So it'll be, I again, would I want to play a full campaign in that? I don't know.
Yeah, Dark Sun's never really captured my imagination, but I think it was a bit niche, and I think it captures those people's, like, the nostalgia for people who did play it. But the one you did mention a second ago, you were just saying about Dragonlance, is interestingly the people from Dragonlance, Tracy and I forgot the other one, Hickman. The Hickmans.
The Hickmans, yeah.
They have started their own campaign guide for a different game that they're making, so I imagine that they're probably busy. That's all. So, and I think they wouldn't be able to do it without them, kind of feeling.
Well, but there was also the controversy last year, and the sort of lawsuit and stuff, so who knows what that was sort of really about. Like, I'm sure, again, not to speculate or anything like that. No. As someone who's actually never read any of the Dragonlances, I'm getting round to it, I promise. It's just on the list. But it's that sort of thing where it's like, maybe that whatever that is left for now. But so just to go back, so we got 2 of these classic settings. Who knows what they might be published in another format, and then it says a peek at a third one in 2022, and then in 2023 a third classic setting. I assume it's the same one. It's not just a peek of the third one, and then we get a completely different one. So that will be quite interesting, I think. And then they mentioned, on top of that they've heard the community say that we want more adventure anthologies. So very much like Candlekeep Mysteries, where it's always sort of one-shots and stuff. So they're going to do more like that. So I can imagine like Tales from the Yawning Portals, my thinking as well, where they've already got those classic, very slimmed down modules and stuff, putting that into a book. But maybe they're going to do some more, it's not crowdsourcing, but, you know, getting people from the community to write more one-shots, because it seems to have been very, very successful. I had a quick, I recently did another DM's book club with a guest co-host about Candlekeep itself, which is it's a fascinating place. And so having like that as a setting, and then having these idea of a one-shot in a book and stuff like that is quite interesting. So I don't know. Yeah, I quite like that idea, but there's no other mention of like adventure modules. So maybe they're all adventured out for now. So.
Well, maybe. I mean, you think of some of them. I don't know Spelljammer so much, but maybe Planescape could be done as an anthology as well. You know, you could give the campaign setting and then give because it would work very well at doing because they've already. In the original setting, there was a big overarching story, and I think they've done that, and maybe people wouldn't want to do it. But you've got all these different planes. You could just have an adventure in Archeron, or in Mechanis, or in Arborea, and just have a little, and give everyone a little flavour of all of these ones, which gives everyone a nice little intro, and leads you on to how you run your own campaign, sort of thing.
I like that as an idea. Yeah, this here's an example, but but this is only one of many adventures you could have in these planes. That'd be really cool, actually, because because we've done a bit about those in another DM's book club, like from the DM's guide and stuff. And some of them are just like a paragraph or two of that. And obviously, I know, like you're saying, Planescape will have a lot more on it. But that'd be really fascinating to be able to, if you had to hop between the planes and like how each one is different, and just have a taster of that. Really cool.
It'd be a good one. I like that. The other thing that I noticed on there was they're just the sort of important things that they were saying includes. They were saying they were making more tools as well to make the adventures more accessible to DMs, as well as everyone generally, focusing on accessibility and bringing in new players. But I think, as they said, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight has those little notes saying what you should tell your players, and it was a very small little moment of it. And also, in top of that as well, with Wild Beyond the Witchlight saying that they've made it so you don't have to have any combat. They mentioned that again, saying that that's a theme they're going to bring back. Maybe not. There's no combat, but thinking of other ways of managing the play, or what the play is about, and how you accomplish your goals, which could be really interesting. I think if they're given free rein on that, I'm sure they'll come up with some great ideas.
That'll be interesting, because again, I think we spoke about it before when we did our impressions of it, is that Wild Beyond the Witchlight, it's the story itself, and it is obviously we highly recommend having a look at it, is that it makes sense that there might not be combat, because the Feywild is such a mercurial place, is that obviously that is such a big aggressive act. You've made a huge faux pas as a result. Whereas stuff like, if you look at previous ones, like, you know, thinking like Rime of the Frost Maiden, Tyranny of Dragons and stuff, that is all it's an adventure. It's combat is inbuilt. So it'd be interesting to see if they are telling same stories or redoing it, because obviously they've redone Curse of Strahd. Like you can't really take the violence out of Curse of Strahd, because the whole point is that you've got to topple the Lord of the Dread Realm. You know, it'll be very interesting to see how that story is developed, and I will be I'm 100% here for it, because a campaign without combat is less admin for me. So I approve of that. But it'll be very interesting to see what stories they come up with, and because like I said, I think I said to you before, is that this D&D is what I did quite like about it when they talked about it in the panel, is that it is a living game. It's constantly changing and develops and stuff, and I love that. But for me, it's always been a combat game. You have these modifiers for hitting and stuff like that. So getting rid of the combat is like, well, are you having other mechanics come in for the social stuff? Are we going to be more about how do you write a social encounter? Yeah. And are we going to really reward players for role playing really well, or come up with a great solution in character, out of character? Because that feels even more nuanced rule stuff. Because obviously some people don't like role playing at all, and they like talking in the third person, or they just like being themselves, and that's obviously completely fine. But do you reward because they said a really cool argument line really well? Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what they come up with. I'd be keen to see.
When we play our one shots on Dragon's Duel, we give points to level people up, because we try and get them to level up in the show. And so we have one that I just call actor points, that I can deem whatever I want to give to the characters to like help them level up. They get 20 points per level they have to get. And so they get help for healing each other and doing like normal sort of XP sort of things. But we added in, the actor points one. And maybe I feel like that could be expanded on. And it's always, that's how I dish out bonuses for, you've just done something really cool in just by saying that. And it's just, and that's how I work it.
Yeah, and I like that as a DM because like I've in my rule of cool, anything that makes me laugh. Like, and I'm very easy to like laugh, make laugh and stuff like that. But if something amazing happens, I'm like, that's pretty cool. You get an inspiration point, and I agree. I think it gets to a point where it's like if you're taking one mechanic away, you need to add another one. Would it be this? I wouldn't like it if it was that myself. So that's what my thinking process is. That they must have to balance it out in some way, which they are changing. About which we'll come to. But the only thing I wanted to quickly add before we probably go on to that is that they have announced. Oh, they kind of announced right at the end. They are developing 2 new settings, but it's in very early stages. So this will be the first time since Eberron that was published way back in 2003, I think. I can't remember.
I had it in my notes, but I'll have to have a look. 2004.
So 2004. So that's like that's well over 10 years ago.
Yes.
So I live in the 90s. So it's just the way your minds work. But So currently they're on very, very early stages and they might not see the light of day. But I think that's impressive that they are revisiting free traditional campaigns, free classic campaigons, plus an anthology, probably crowdsourcing, and then probably 2 new campaign settings.
Chris Perkins is a busy man.
They are busy. Non-stop.
If you need any help, Chris Perkins, my email address is.
Yeah, I was going to say, for art stuff, go for it. I'll be there to go, I like this. That's as far as I go in my thing. But so that's quite exciting. And again, they couldn't reveal too much on that because again, it's that sort of thing where it might not make the light of day. Yeah. So
he did mention that one of them, and I know you'll like this, and I was like, oh, not another one. It was horror setting, super horror. It's going to scare the pants off everyone. I was like, we've got Ravenloft. We've had 2 hot. We have Curse of Strahd again and Ravenloft. Yeah. We don't need any more horror. Come on.
I don't know. They're going through their zombie phase. Like I went through it ages ago. They'll admit, oh no. No, even better. They're going for the vampire stage.
Zombie apocalypse.
Zombie.
I think you called it. I think that's what it is. It's zombie apocalypse.
Fine. Setting. Oh God, could you imagine? Oh, anyway. But let's go on then. So that's 2002. Wow, that's where my brain is currently. Yeah. 2022. The future. Yes. It was the great line that Chris said was like, I'm currently living in 2022 and beyond.
I exist in 2022 and beyond. I wrote that down. I thought that was good.
I thought that was a great line. So that's 2022 and 2023 technically. 2024, 50th anniversary of D&D. They are having this. The big announcement was they are sort of re-releasing the rules as revised editions of some sort. Now, people are instantly going like, what? 6th edition? And everyone went, no.
Yeah, exactly. Completely compatible with existing 5e content, they said like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, I think because there was a moment where, I can't remember which one said, it was like, don't worry, you will still have to, which is quite funny because again, the stuff we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks, like Ghost Walk is what we're going to talk about in a few weeks, that got released in 2004, just before free went to 3.5 and wasn't supported. So that was
they made that whole document that explained everything that you could do for it.
So we've talked about obviously those settings, what's coming up for 2022 and 2023, but 2024 is the 50th anniversary, and this is the big announcement was that they are going to be releasing revised versions of the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and the DM's Guide. And instantly,
what does this mean for my usual 5e campaign?
It means nothing. It's quite funny because there was loads of videos, obviously, and this has been the biggest sort of thing. People are like, is this 6th edition? Am I going to have to rebuy all my books? Blah, 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 blah. And obviously, the answer is no, you do not have to do that. So that's quite good because obviously everything is backwards compatible and all these new products are coming out. They will be. What they did announce, though, which I thought I really liked, so they had originally like a gift rule set, so where you could buy DM's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual all in one, get a nice DM screen, etc. And it's like here's your starting set essentially as a budding DM. But now, because there's so many other cool rules and all that sort of thing that you might want to, they have an expansion set. So in this one, they'll have like revised editions of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and a brand new book, which I feel it's just replacing Volo's Guide to Everything with Mordekaisen's Mordekainen Presents.
Presents Monsters of the Multiverse.
I like that. In my head, it's like Doctor Strange, you know.
Yes.
Because everything, obviously, we've got Marvel coming out now. It's everything multiverse, and that's where they're going now. Is like you said with Planescape, with all of a sudden it is now going to the multiverse. Where can we go with our games?
Oh my gosh, Mordekainen is the Doctor Strange of the D&D verse, isn't he?
He really
100%.
is.
The way he looks and everything like that. I just never got that with his foamy toes.
Foamy toes.
Foamy toes. Sorry. It looks quite. I love the art. I might just flash the art now. Bosh, it's there and it's gone again, but it's beautiful. Both the main cover and the very sort of ethereal 80s soundtrack cover that's on the alternate one.
The alternate ones, they are gorgeous, aren't they? I literally was like, I now want the alternate versions because they, again, just to describe it for our podcast listeners, it is white backgrounds with almost like, for the watchers, for the listeners, it's like a white background with like pinky, pastel tones of various of things, and it's minimalistic, so it looks gorgeous. So
it looks like an art book. It looks like a book that I would buy from. There's a really nice sort of there's a magazine shop where I live, which is just like really esoteric magazines, and they just all look beautiful. You just want to have it on your coffee table. It looks like one of those things that you'd be like, and I want them to remake all of them now in that style, and then I'll have that because Hydra74, who does all the other alternate covers, really cool, really edgy, sort of like rock and roll, skulls and stuff, and you're like, yeah, I love it. But actually, this is something different, and I'm quite a big fan of it. I think it's I think it's gone going in a more like, I don't know, stylish, more graphically stylish, I think.
Yeah, I know, I think so too. And I think it's interesting because I wonder if they will also appeal to people who are like, I'm not so keen on the D&D because of the covers. Because I'm thinking like, when they sort of recovered like the Harry Potter books, obviously they had a certain art style, and then they were like, here's the ones for adults. And you're like, okay. And there's the other one, which I've now completely got out of my head. Never mind. But yeah, it's that sort of thing where I think it's like trying to appease to other people. Oh, that was it. So I feel very ashamed now. So this is the big reveal. I've never really read any Terry Pratchett because I hated the covers. Like
you know what? I was put off by them as a child as well. And I've read a bit of them since, but I totally agree. They were just so like
ugly. Ugly and grotty. Yeah. But they are obviously, Terry Pratchett is one of the best writers, fantasy writers. Like I'm sure that's be one of my big DM's book club recommendation. If you want to do funny fantasy like Monty Python-esque, Terry Pratchett is the way to go for it. It's just a beautifully well written like world, the whole of Discworld. But yeah, just the covers, I was like, I don't want to read this. It's not my thing. So that's the thing. I do think there's maybe that side to it as well, that maybe they just want to get to more people and maybe have it on your thing going, oh yes, this is my D&D books. Because again, if you look at all the other sort of like RPGs that are out there, I don't think there's only like a couple of them that are white or have those alternate covers like that. So I think it's interesting they've gone into that branding to maybe just make it like, hey, we can be pretty and we can use this as a, like you said, it's almost like an art book and a game to play. So it's very interesting.
It's just and as you said, it's appealing to a more diverse like group of people, because the whole skulls and hardcore rock and roll is quite an old-fashioned idea of what Dungeons and Dragons is all about. And I think if they're moving to these more, like Beyond the Witchlight, it's a more beautiful cover. You've got yours there.
What's that? What's that? Did you ask me about?
Just handy. You've got one there again. That's already and that's by Hydra74 as well, actually. But that is moving in a more. Yeah, it's got a completely different aesthetic to it, which I think is lovely, and it's nice that they should be individual. I always, I have to do them. Oh, again, it's maybe too much personal, but I have to do for my projects at work. Whenever I'm doing different buildings, I always do. We always have like a branding, which is our company. I remove that and do my own one. I always get told off for it for each different building to give it its own character, and I think that's what you should do with these things. So I'm happy. I'm all for it. Is all I'm saying, really.
No, I agree. I am all for it as well. But I think we'll move on then to the actual rebalancing and mechanic changes that they've sort of announced. So essentially, with Monsters of the Multiverse, so this Mordenkainen Presents, which I just in my head, Mordenkainen now owns like a theatre. That's what I've got in my head. So in that book, so not only are they're sort of drawing all the monsters and races that are outside of campaigns, books that they've given, and the player's handbook. So all the stuff in that is sort of certainly all the races, over 30 races they've said, are campaign setting agnostic. So they just, unless they are, so you can play any of these characters anywhere. So again, makes me think of, multiverse, like you can be on any planes for that. But what they've said is that they're trying to rebalance the monsters. And in the panel, they were showing slimmed down, they
showed the bar, didn't they?
Very, very small writing. So you had to, I was like enhance trying to
on my phone trying to read what the differences were.
But slimmed down, and they showed different artwork and different. But yes, essentially with the sort of rebalancing, they have sort of taken out a lot of the combat spells for stuff, and it's made it more. What's the word they used? There was a word they used. It wasn't combat. It was more survival, I think.
Oh, right.
Stuff to help them in combat, but not necessarily combat spells. But more importantly, and I think all the DMs breathe a sigh of relief when I say this, it's like, you don't, as a DM, have to track spell slots for monsters. And I was just like, that sounds amazing.
I know. Oh my gosh, they have a spell casting action, and it doesn't have spell slot. I mean, I don't, to be honest. I'm going to tell you now, I don't track them.
No, me neither.
By the way. So they just cast what they cast until you kill them, because, to be honest, that's how I figure it, because it's silly otherwise.
I think, because again, it comes to that idea that in previous times when maybe you were like, everyone would come and sit around the table and stuff like that, and it wasn't online, or we, it's like, this is the dedicated night. I can imagine the DM properly prepping this as like, here are all the encounters I'm going to do, and then writing out, okay, this NPC number 1, this is their first round of combat, stuff like that. And people still do that, and I think that's great if you have the time. I barely, when they go, okay, we're in a fight now, all right, I'm just going to look up the creature, have a read of the stat block, okay, I'm going to use this thing first. If it's spells, I go, okay, I'll just go for the best. And again, thanks to D&D Beyond, obviously you can look all these stuff up very quickly. But imagine,
and actually, the fact that you can hover over it and it tells you all the spell details is bloody
instantly
useful as well.
Because otherwise you're like, okay, get the other book out, and it's just a lot of heads in books and not actually playing. So it'll be very interesting to see this, because again, we're taking the spell casting sort of trait and making it into just a simple action. They've talked about it's helping to rebalance some of the monsters, because apparently, clearly the way we've been playing this Hamilton is completely wrong, but apparently people were using these monsters with the spells, but creating it so that they were attacking at a level lower to their critical, their challenge rating. Yeah. And I was like, that, in my head, I was like, that's insane that you put it at, say, I don't know, challenge rating 10, but you could, in your first round, just because you've had a bad roll or everyone saved against it, they're not as powerful, and suddenly you're like, oh, now we have 5 adventurers about to attack this, your big bad. Yeah. Oh, sucks for you. But now they're going to rebalance it, or try to rebalance it, so that you're a bit stronger as a result. So.
No, exactly. And I also like the other thing that they're changing that I'm a big fan of. If anyone's watched Dragon's Duel, I love alphabetizing. And trying to find monsters. Oh my gosh, thank goodness. Like, who thought it was necessary to put them by type? Like, you don't need that. I'm sorry. I love a good organization system, and this is much better. Just go by the alphabet, because I'm going Bulgara. Wait, it's a demon, right? Or is it an abomination? Is it what? Is it? I'm sure. No, it's not. Oh fuck, it's the wrong one, and that's always the wrong one. So, I mean, with D&D Beyond, I just Google it and try and spell Bulgara. I don't know how to spell it. So I go to Google to find it, and then find what it's spelled like, and then go to D&D Beyond and find stat block.
But now we're going to take off mere minutes of that time, so you can now finally go alphabetize.
So Fiona, what would you like to be in the future of D&D? Because they've said what they're going to make. But we've obviously got to have some of our own ideas as to what we'd be really excited to see happen in D&D as we move into the next 2 or 3 years. They're really talking about,
Yeah, no, very good point. I think for me, there's two big things I really want. I want pronunciation guides for everything. They've got it in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which I was very excited for, because now I can pronounce all these villains or major NPCs names without going onto the internet and trying to find usually an American saying it and then going, that's not how I would say it, and changing it all completely. I would love for there to be more softback cover versions of stuff. Like, I rebought Curse of Strahd, the revamped version, purely so I could like use it and read it properly on the tube and stuff, and not worry about it getting.
I want that as well.
Yeah, It's just because it was just, and it, obviously lighter, and I could put post-it notes. I felt so much better about. I didn't write in it before you say anything. I had it just so I could use it and go back and forth whilst I had my hardcover copy as well to refer to. And I think the other thing that did, the Curse of Strahd revamped stuff did, is that you can then have the additional sort of monster stuff in a separate booklet as well. So you could take that and just use those as well. You had a nice bit of tarot cards. I got all of that. So yeah, I liked gift sets like that, like re-gift stuff like that, but as soft cover versions. So maybe they'll do that for some of the earlier ones, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. But those are my main two.
You made me think of what I want as a 90s kid. I want a Filofax variation, right? So A4 Filofax, you know the Filofax, you used to buy the sets for Filofaxes. I want that for D&D. Okay, I want a nicely organised little A4 ledger that I can now Filofax them in. Can we have that, please?
So you could literally you could get out the chapter you need. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then yes, I also would like an official with the Coast Filofax.
I seriously think, and you could have little tabs you could flick to the different, so you'd have your little tab for Curse of Strahd or your Monsters Manual. Do little, I mean, seriously, come on. I mean, you could do it yourself, but I want a nice one made by them.
No, we want an official. I think, if anything, anything that's told me about like stuff like Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I recently received the cool dice set box.
Oh, yes.
I was like, it's a nice box. I want it. So, but I do like, I mean, because I pulled them out, but they came with obviously like little maps and stuff like that. Obviously, the one of the carnival.
Yeah. See, more of that stuff would be great. More like art posters and stuff would be fantastic.
Yeah, just like little ones like that. Because then I love the big ones, but like for me, I wouldn't put them up anywhere. I'd like to get them framed or something like that because I'm sad like that. But like little ones like this, I could put somewhere or be able to share with people rather than print them out as well.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the maps that they come in it. If they're talking about this more digital media, you just start thinking of all these ideas, and you think like a really good version of Roll20 would be great, and that's just integrated to when I buy the D&D Beyond version, I don't have to spend another 30 quid buying the Roll20 version and also buy the book. And I mean, if they could integrate that system, that would be so much more fluid and better.
Yeah, and you spoke about it earlier as well, this idea of accessibility, and in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, certainly. On the D&D Beyond version, that they have printer-friendly versions of it, so it doesn't have the art or something like that. So for certain handouts and stuff, and that would be really good as well. Like I know if you've got the actual like books and stuff, they probably wouldn't have that, but being able to have stuff at the back which you can photocopy easily, or I mean, the dream I know is to buy a physical book and then have the PDF version, like a code that you could unlock. I know D&D Beyond and Wizard of Coast are two separate companies, so that's probably never going to happen. But I know my local game store does it, where you buy the book. If you pay a little bit extra, like a £10, £15 extra, you get the PDF code sent to you, and you have it online. And
because
that'd be so good.
That's the thing I love about having the physical because I got an iPad, and I love writing in my books. Okay. I can't help it. I know I'm not. But I love it. I love to personalize my books as much as possible. Particularly like textbooks and stuff. My school, like when I was at university, my books are just all filled with my own writing. Because someone will want to buy that one day, I'm sure. Just because I just love to just be there and just highlighting and making notes, and it just is so much easier for me to manage my thoughts. And that's what I love about having it on the iPad, is that I just note and sketch and make all my notes as I'm going, and I'm not destroying the original book, which I would obviously love to have as a nice clean copy. So absolutely. And I think like obviously the more and more you get laptops that can turn into iPads, and like you said, like the touch screens and stuff like that, it seems
Yeah, like D&D Beyond, it feels like it's been around forever, but it's only been like 2 or 3 years, and then only recently has it had the being able to use it offline as well, which has been an absolute godsend, not being connected to the internet whilst looking up stuff. So who knows what comes up. But I think Hamilton, I think that's it. I think that's all we've got from the D&D Future stuff. But it's exciting. And I actually would recommend people to look back at some of the other panels that were over the D&D Celebration. There was stuff about how do you do a session 0, creating your first character with young children, if you're getting them into it, which I thought was actually quite cool. Obviously, stuff on Strixhaven, Fizz bands, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, all the stuff that's coming up, and obviously this panel as well. So I'm one of those people who likes watching the panels because I do find them interesting, and they have like DMs and people who run games regularly all over the world talking about stuff, and it's like this show really. Obviously, but we'll get there eventually. we'll just talk about their panel first.
Yes.
But I recommend watching those for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I thought they were really good, and I think actually that's the other thing you were talking about when you talk about it reminded me as well, the children involved in D&D. I think more of that could be. They did those variations on the monster manuals, didn't they, for children?
Oh yes, the Young Adventurers guides. Yes.
Yeah, and I think some things more like that would be quite interesting, just to try and engage new people and new ages into the sport, into the game. But I think but they've got the new D&D I almost said manual, D&D annual coming out, the 2022 coming out, which is interesting because I don't know how successful the first one was, because we discussed this on a previous episodes of DM's Book Club. Annuals are a purely British thing. Americans don't have it. Is that right? Is it not an American thing?
No. They have no idea what it is.
Oh,
it's fascinating.
I thought that was the Beano
I know.
annual and the Dandy annual and all
again,
that
but they're all UK comics and stuff. So
of course, yeah. Oh.
But yeah, so there you go. Anyway, Hamilton, thank you so much for talking to me about D&D and the future of it.
Pleasure.
What are you up to? Where can we find you? Yeah.
What am I up to? Well, the week that this comes out will be the week after our season 2 one-shots have all finished. So we're on a break for Dragon's Duel at the moment, and we are building up some ideas for what that season 3 may be, whatever that is.
Wait, is this you doing a D&D Futures panel by going, here's an announcement, but we can't tell you anything about?
Yes, it is literally. Yeah, we've got fun. We've got some ideas. It's all balls in the air at the moment, but we will have some announcements all on our Twitter soon. But the thing I can announce, though, is that we have neglected our podcast listeners. So if you are a podcast listener to this and you've enjoyed season 1 of Dragon's Duel and thought you've only put one of those season 2s on there and you made it 3 hours long and it's not, we are doing some work in the background to get that out. So there will be lots of announcements on when those are coming out, and there'll be a weekly schedule, and it will be much more organised and give you everything that we've done since March, I think was the last time we actually probably put something on there.
It's been a long pandemic, so it's totally understandable.
Yeah, so we are going to get that out for you, podcast listeners. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing.
Fantastic.
How about you? What about you, Fiona? What are you up to?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me. So obviously, I run the What Am I Rolling podcast, which is a twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast. As always, it is going very, very well. I never know what I'm being released at any point. Vert, probably, at this point. Maybe some solo stuff. We don't know, but it's all there. You can go check them out on obviously our website. That's www.wairpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts, which I like to think they're just in the ether around us. But stuff like this, obviously we're on Dragon's Duel Twitch if you're watching us. We're going to be here every Thursday, 9 p.m. BST/GMT, because that's going to happen soon, which is. Yeah, I know. It's awful.
Coming up on us.
It's awful. I hate changing. But obviously we're here. We'll talk about all this stuff, and the VOD will be released probably a week or so after, and then we'll be on podcast as well. So do check that out. And of course, finally, we have offer code at Third Space Gaming in Burnley. That's 10% off your first order if you put in DMBC into checkout, and it can be on anything. It could be on new books. Maybe you're going to wait. Don't wait till 2024. Get the order in now. For whatever it is, they're lovely and they're great. And a friend of the show, Derek, who I've had recently on as a guest for DM's Book Club. We spoke, and he apparently has a football shirt from Burnley Football Club, which surprised me.
Someone's living in the middle of nowhere, America, isn't he?
Yeah, I was like that's a Burnley football shirt. I've not seen one of those.
I was going to do my Ibargum, but I've done it now.
Oh no! What are you talking about? Right. Anyway, with all that out
we
of
can
the
say
way,
what we're doing next week, though. We can say what's coming up next week. Yes,
we can. What are we doing?
We're doing, Critical Role Season 3 campaign starts next Thursday, the 21st of October. This is going out on the 14th of October on Twitch. Yes. So for those of you, if this comes out similar time on the podcast, 21st of October at 9 p.m. British Standard Time, or GMT as it'll be British Standard Time still then, we're doing a Critical Role campaign guides extravaganza special. And basically when we finish, it will be still a few hours before they actually start the actual Critical Role.
But hopefully we'll have recapped it all. So so that's going to be the Tal'Dorei campaign setting, which was done by Green Ronin Publishing, and also Explorer's Guide to
Wildmount. Yeah, we're going to be doing a double bill look at the two of them in preparation, so you can watch that, have a bit of tea. If you're in America, it'll be perfect time. You could watch that, have a little bit of tea, get some snacks, sit yourself down and watch the beginning of Season 3, Campaign 3 of Critical Role. So that's our special next week.
Yeah, very exciting. Anyway, until then, friends, I was going to say fans, but fan friends.
Friends?
Oh, friends. Until then, my friends, thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for listening. We'll end as always. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Wait, what's this? Oh, wait, you brought me back here. We've done this episode, Hamilton. What's going on?
If I go this way and you sort of reel you back in, no, you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way.
On my screen, you're going. All right, hang on, do that again.
All right, go, ready? Go. Whoa. Right, come back here then,
what?
Fiona.
It's been a week. What's going on? I don't understand.
I know it's not been a week for them. It's been moments, but for us, it's been a week because
I've changed outfits and everything.
I know, we had a quick wardrobe change. You might see it next week. But yes, there have been developments on the future of D&D. There has been developments. Multiple developments.
It's one of those things where we're like, it's been 2 weeks since they had the big announcement. There won't be any developments. No. And then there's a lot of development. So exactly. What have we had? We'll do a quick 5 minutes of what has happened in the intervening weeks since this episode. So since we recorded this episode. First
thing that came out was Unearthed Arcana with this bad boy. The Travelers of the Multiverse.
Yes, I'm very excited. So what is this Unearthed Arcana then?
Well, this Unearthed Arcana basically says it's going to be Spelljammer. That's what it is. Because
big letters now. Spelljammer confirmed.
Spelljammer confirmed by DM's Book Club. We have insight. No, we don't have any inside knowledge. But
we just said what everyone else was saying, and then it turns out we were right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it was by Christopher Perkins and Jeremy Crawford. So it's playtest stuff. As Unearthed. If people who don't know what Unearthed Arcana is, it is playtest material that's sent out, very basically graphically put, to see how it goes. And they had them for the Horengar, the rabbit folk before.
Yes, they did. So the folk of the Feywild, that's what it was called. Yes. And then they had Gothic lineages as well for Van Richten's Guide to Ravenlock. And Draconic options as well. Presumably that's coming up in Fizzband. But yes.
Yes. So there you go. So they do generally relate to what's coming up. So it's a good identifier.
Indicator. Mm.
And
so this,
What have they got then? What have they got?
Well, let me say, they've got 6 races, and they're all very interesting, and we're only going to do a quick brief view of it, because obviously we've only got 5 minutes. So they have an astral elf, so a denizen of the astral plane, who is likely to be thousands of years old, so that's pretty cool, interesting. An auto gnome, which 100% I want to play. Yes. This idea of a mechanical gnome gifted with free will. Yes, that has me written all over it. And a fan favourite, I think this is the real reason Spelljammer keeps being asked to come back, is GIF or GIF, depending on hard G or soft G. Yeah. It's the space hippos we talked about in a previous season. They're back. Yeah. I don't know how you pronounce this.
Hadesi, I think.
Hadesi. Hadesi, so a highly adaptable simian being who uses wing-like membranes to glide. So I'm picturing like a flying squirrel, really, but
okay.
Or a bat.
I saw. It's simian isn't that a primate? Or is
Oh, you're probably right. Oh, right. Okay.
Sorry, I think it is. I think it's a sort of a chimpanzee. I think is where the Z comes from. I think so. I think it's a flying.
It's like
monkey.
a flying monkey.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, again, this is, as you can tell,
AKA from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I see now.
Yeah.
See, as you can tell, I've not read spell. I'm sure we'll have to do that in the next episode.
Yeah.
A plasmoid, an amoeba-like being, which I'm like, okay, interesting. But in my head, that'd be quite cool because you're an ooze of some sort. And then finally...
I just got fart from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, pretty much. And then finally you got the
Thrycreen.
Thrycreen. So a 6-limbed telepathic insectoid. And I remember seeing on one of the comments saying, these are my favourite. And I was like, what? And I read them, and they're like cockroaches in a way, or insectoid creatures, which I believe are native to the Dark Sun setting. So maybe it's a mixture of...
They are in
Spelljammer
both.
Oh, are they? There you go, then.
I think they are, but then Spelljammer's weird because it accesses the whole multiverse, so technically, yes, I think that is the Dark Sun relation as well, and they're pretty awful. They kind of are Starship Troopers sort of things.
That's the vision I have in my head of them, so how interesting. So, yes, so that's just a quick look at these, and obviously this come out, so I'm sure we'll do a deeper dive at this point, but how exciting. Spelljammer, Dark Sun confirmed.
Yes,
hooray!
basically. Are we going to talk about the other thing?
Let's talk about the other thing. So we talked about it briefly about this alternate cover art that was shown of Boo, the space hamster, and that sort of referred to sort of Minsk and Boo from Baldur's Gate coming out, and then lo and behold, an interesting thing happened whereby a book went on sale and then quickly disappeared from sale and then reappeared on sale.
Literally, it was very on off. But yes, Minx and Boo's Journal of Villainy, which is actually very, very good, and I'd love to do more about it. And it relates a bit to what we talk about next week, which is our Critical Role campaign. It has lots in the sense that it has lots of good lore. It has really great sort of setting, places and cities, and more about the factions of Faerun, which could become group patrons. It has things about how to make a good villain. It gives you some great villain stats. I mean, there's some good monsters in this that I'm like... I had a character I think I mentioned later on in our Ghostwalk campaign talk chat when there's Baal is in here, and I had a so there's, and they've got some serious stats. If you want to chuck some proper BBEGs at your players, this is a book to get. Like, we're talking 400 hit points and lots of bad stuff to throw at people, and some great monsters, really great monsters. Yeah, and again, so just even just looking briefly at the first couple of pages, some really cool art as well. And as someone, and I will admit this again, I have not played Baldur's Gate video game series, so it's kind of lost on me a little bit. But I am excited to see what this is, because again, that's that sort of thing where we heard about it and then it sort of was mentioned, and then it again was released and then taken back because there was definitely typos and editor's notes in it, and then re-released as a result. And obviously this is on DM's Guild, which you can pay for, and all the money goes to Extra Life, which is obviously their charity that they're a part of. So do go check that out. And again, I know this is just us going, this has happened. I'm going to just quickly scroll through some of the art.
Please.
Oh my gosh, it is art heavy. Like, absolutely stunning pieces of artwork in here. Jesus! The whole thing is actually an absolute delight to look at from start to finish.
I love a good map, and I'm already seeing some
maps,
cool
but even
maps.
I want to cut to some characters. Here's some fantastic character art as well. I'm just going to skip far down, try and get you some more without showing off too much of the book.
Yeah, because go get it and give money to charity. That's
give money to charity because it is really great. But beautiful art, beautiful document. And really, and actually beneficial to any campaign. So just get it.
Yeah, just get it. Yeah, so I'm sure at some point we will do a deeper dive into it as well. So just
there's actually one more thing, isn't there, that we could mention that came out, which is the Critical Role campaign adventure.
Sorry, my dice went everywhere.
She's thrown dice everywhere. It's all okay. It's completely gone now. We just have to end now. But that's it. There's a Critical Role adventure, which is hinting at it's going to talk about Marquette. We're going to be talking about Critical Role next week.
Yes.
Because it starts next week, the season 3.
Yes.
So before that, come and watch us before you have your tea, and then you go and watch the actual season 3 premiere. But yeah, they released on the Tuesday just before we recorded it, to say that yes, there's going to be an adventure in the Netherdeep, I think it's called.
Yeah, Call of the Neverdeep. It's called the first major adventure set in Critical Role's World of Exandria. And yeah, it looks like 7 chapters of thrilling adventure, new creatures and magical items, and obviously based in the new continent that will be in season 3, Marquette, which is very exciting. So, but obviously we'll talk more and more about that stuff, 100%. And you probably see us both being very excited, going, "Oh, we just go this 10 minutes before recording," unlike this stuff. So.
Yes. So that is just. I think that was basically all the little news we just wanted to give, just to add in. Does that change anything for you? Just seeing that, I think that's the final word.
Yeah, you know what, it's one of those things where that D&D panel, as we were saying, was sort of hinting at lots of stuff, saying, "Oh, this is coming in the next year" and stuff. And then there was like, "There's going to be a blog post next month, or there's going to be something next month." And then suddenly we've had 2 very close things side by side. Well, now 3 things with the Critical Role things, and I'm like, whoa. So clearly it's that sort of thing where they were holding on, and they're like, sod it, just put them out. Let's just go all in one go. And it happened with Strixhaven and Fizzband as well. They sort of announced, I think they announced Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and then within 24 hours after that, it was another 2 books. So that all 3 of them got announced, and I was like, bloody hell. I mean, I was like, amazing. Yeah, I was like, amazing. This is great for our show. But at the same time, I was like, that's a lot of reading. So, but yes, so it's you know what, I'm excited, and it's going to be interesting. Like the Critical Role stuff, as we sort of talk next week, we're both very big fans of, so it'll be interesting to see what that comes out. But also the whole sort of like the Baldur's Gate stuff, the Boo and Minsk, sorry. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. Again, it's that sort of thing where I know it's a big part of D&D, sort of the history of it, and something I don't know much about. And I'm always interested in saying where have we got to from here, and like you said, this idea of villains and stuff. I think we need to do an episode on villains. I think, how do you do a good villain? How do you make it so they're not just like a 2D, like, I want to take over the world, that they give them purpose? What happens when they don't get their way? Well, all that sort of thing.
As I said, like, that there's a good thing from 3E that talks about that as well. So I think we could do I think there's a lot we can build on villains. So yeah, I'm up for that. So, maybe that's what we do for the one after our Halloween special.
Sounds good. I knew I was going to agree to it anyway, Hamilton, but yes, sounds good. That sounds good. And of course, obviously, with all these new races as well. So hopefully we'll come back to all these things. So, yes. Wow. Great.
All very exciting.
Very exciting. We'll see you next week
for Critical Role.
Critical Role. All right.
Take
Love
care.
you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.